Chapter 1. The Lost Key, A Tale of Secrets and Shadows. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Aria, and today I want to tell you a story. A story about secrets, choices, and the strange paths that connect our lives when the world stops making sense. The story is called The Lost Key, A Tale of Secrets and Shadows. Before we begin, take a breath. Let the world outside fade away for a while. Because this story doesn't belong to the world you know. It takes place in a place that shouldn't exist. A world beneath the one we see. A place of echoes, dreams, and forgotten memories. It began with a key. Small, rusted, and warm to the touch, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. I found it on the ground one rainy evening, lying in the middle of a cracked street, glowing faintly against the dark pavement. No one else seemed to notice it. People passed by, umbrellas clashing in the wind, their faces blurred in the downpour. But to me, it felt like the key was waiting. Not for someone, but for me. When I picked it up, I heard a sound. Not thunder, not rain. A whisper, like a voice trapped between walls saying something I couldn't understand. And when I looked again, the world around me had changed. The rain was gone. The air was still, heavy with dust and silence. I stood in the same place, but everything was wrong. The buildings were cracked, hollow and lifeless, windows shattered, signs swinging slowly as if the wind itself had forgotten how to move. I tried to call out, but my voice didn't echo. It just vanished, like sound itself had been swallowed by the air. That's when I noticed the door. It was old, black wood carved with strange symbols that shimmered faintly when I held the key closer. And before I could think, my hand was already moving, fitting the key into the lock. It turned easily, like it had been waiting centuries just to open for me. When the door creaked open, light poured out, but not golden, not warm. It was silver, cold, almost liquid. It spilled across the floor and the world around me bent like glass. Then I was falling. No, not falling. Drifting, through a sea of stars that pulsed like heartbeats, through ruins floating in endless space, through whispers all calling the same name, though none of them were mine. I landed softly on stone. And when I looked around, I was standing in a vast hall, walls covered in mirrors, though none reflected me. Each mirror showed a different world. A forest lit by blue fireflies, a desert made of glass, a city where the moon never moved. And in the center of them all, a single pedestal, holding an hourglass that flowed upward. I didn't know it then, but that was the moment my life stopped belonging to the world I came from. That was when I entered the other realm. A voice echoed through the hall, soft but ancient. It said, "Welcome, seeker. You have found the key, and so you must remember." "Remember what?" I asked, my voice trembling. The mirrors flickered, and in one of them, I saw myself, but not as I was, older, tired, holding the same key. And she whispered, "You opened it once before." The hourglass on the pedestal began to hum, the sand glowing brighter and brighter until the entire room pulsed with its rhythm. The world started to twist, the mirrors cracking, the reflections bleeding into one another, and I realized the truth. The key didn't open a door, it opened time. I ran, through the corridors that melted into each other, through echoes of cities I didn't know, chased by whispers that grew louder the more I ignored them. Every door led to another memory that wasn't mine. A child crying in the snow, a tower crumbling into the sea. A woman's voice saying, "Find me before the light fades." The key burned in my hand, and then I saw it. A staircase, endless, spiraling upward into the dark. The walls were covered in writing, blowing faintly as I climbed. Every symbol was a fragment of thought, a piece of someone's forgotten story. I didn't know whose, maybe everyone's, maybe mine. At the top, I found another door, but this one didn't need a key. It was already open. The air behind it whispering, like it was alive. And as I stepped through, I saw something that made me forget to breathe. A sky made of glass, an ocean hanging above it, upside down, and in the distance, a tower that pierced both, its reflection reaching down into infinity. It was both beautiful and wrong, like a memory that doesn't fit in your head anymore. That's when I heard it again, the voice. Closer this time. It said, "Aria, you brought it back." I turned, and for a moment, I saw her. The woman from the mirror, my reflection, but older. Eyes hollow, holding an hourglass that flowed in reverse. And she said, "You have to remember, before the world resets." But before I could ask what she meant, the glass sky cracked, and the world shattered into light. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in a field of white flowers under a silver moon. The key was still in my hand, but this time it was glowing softly, like it was alive. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't a dream. The other realm wasn't a place I had fallen into. It was something I had unlocked. And I had done it before.
Chapter 1, Part 2. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in a field of white flowers beneath a silver moon. They swayed gently, though there was no wind. Each petal shimmered faintly, glowing from within, as if they remembered a light I couldn't see. The air felt soft, alive. It hummed faintly, almost like breathing. And when I stood up, I realized the ground wasn't made of soil, but of glass. Beneath my feet, I could see reflections moving. Shadows of people walking, cities shining in the distance, oceans forming and breaking apart again. It was like standing on top of time itself. The key pulsed in my palm, each heartbeat syncing with the shimmering world below. And then, for just a second, I heard my name again. "Aria," whispered not from behind, but beneath. I knelt and touched the glass. The moment my fingertips met the surface, ripples spread outward, and the reflection beneath shifted. Now it showed a city at night. Dim streets lit by lanterns of blue flame. Figures moving slowly, their faces blurred like half-remembered dreams. And there, standing at the edge of the reflection, was me. She looked up as if feeling my gaze through the glass. Her lips moved. I couldn't hear what she said, but I knew what it was. "Find me." I took a step back, trembling. The key in my hand burned brighter, and the light spilled into the flowers, turning them silver. Then, a shape appeared among them. Tall, robed in pale cloth that shimmered like moonlight. Its face was hidden behind a mask carved from crystal, its surface fractured and glinting with faint reflections of me. "You crossed again," the figure said, its voice echoing in layers, male, female, young, old, all at once. "The path between worlds only opens to those who've already lost themselves." "I don't understand," I whispered. "What is this place? What is the key?" The masked figure tilted its head slightly, as though listening to something far away. "The key doesn't open doors, Aria. It opens truths. Each time you turn it, the world changes shape, and so do you. It stepped closer, and the flowers bent under its feet like they were bowing. You remember fragments because you've lived this before. The mirrors, the tower, the hourglass, they are pieces of your own reflection. You've only forgotten what you're looking for. I wanted to speak, to ask what I had lost, what I had forgotten, but before I could, the figure raised its hand. From its palm, threads of silver light stretched into the air, weaving symbols that pulsed like living runes. "Follow the light," it said softly. "When the tower calls, don't look back. The key will guide you, but only if you're willing to remember." And with that, the figure began to fade, dissolving into petals of light that drifted upward into the sky. For a brief moment, I thought I saw eyes behind the mask, kind, yet unbearably sad. Then it was gone. The field grew silent again. The silver moon hung motionless, as if watching me. And in the distance, I saw it, faint, hazy, but unmistakable, the Tower of Reflections. It rose far beyond the horizon, a spire of glass and shadow that split the sky in two. The air around it shimmered like heat, bending reality itself. I didn't know how far it was, or if the path to it even existed, but I knew, somehow, that everything began there. And maybe ended there, too. So I began to walk. Each step sent ripples through the glass field, and every ripple showed flashes of other worlds. A forest burning beneath blue rain, a cathedral sinking into the sea, and a girl standing at a window, holding a glowing key. Me. Again. Always me. Hours passed, or maybe none at all. Time didn't feel real here. The sky never changed, the moon never moved, yet I could feel something shifting, a quiet awareness watching from just beyond sight. When I reached the edge of the glass plane, the ground turned into stone. The flowers faded, replaced by ruins, pillars, broken and covered in writing I couldn't read. And there, between two fallen columns, stood another door. Black wood, silver markings, waiting. I held the key tightly, its glow matching the faint pulse of the markings. My breath caught in my throat. Every part of me screamed, "Don't," but my hand moved anyway. When the key turned, the air around me thickened. I heard whispers, thousands, layered over each other like a storm of voices, all speaking fragments of words. Then the door opened. Beyond it, there was no ground. Only a vast sky full of mirrors floating in endless space. Each mirror reflected a different version of me, laughing, crying, lost, forgotten, and all of them turned toward me in unison. Welcome back.
Chapter 1, Part 4. The tower's door was taller than any building I had ever seen. It wasn't made of wood or metal or glass. It was made of memory. Every inch of it shimmered with faint images that shifted as I drew closer. Hands reaching, faces fading, moments collapsing into one another. When I touched the surface, it felt warm. Not like heat, but like something alive, as though the door itself remembered me. And then, without needing the key, it opened. A breath of cold air brushed against my face. Inside, everything was dark, but the kind of darkness that feels thick, like ink spilled through time. Still, I stepped forward, because somehow I already knew this place. The door closed behind me without a sound, and the moment it did, the world outside vanished. There was no sound, no scent, no time, only silence. And then, the heartbeat. Thump. Thump. Slow, steady, echoing from somewhere deep inside the tower. Each pulse made the floor beneath me shimmer, revealing faint patterns carved into the stone,
spirals, circles, and runes that glowed with a dim silver hue. The air itself vibrated, and for a second I could hear whispers again. Not words this time, but memories. "You've reached the first floor," a voice said softly. It wasn't from any direction, but from everywhere. I froze. "Who's there?" I asked. But no one answered. Instead, light blossomed around me, soft, silver light forming the outline of a room. It wasn't like any place in the real world. The walls weren't walls at all, but reflections, faintly moving like water. And within each reflection, there was a scene. A girl playing piano in an empty hall, a man staring at a cracked watch, waiting for something that never came, a forest full of white flowers under a moon that never moved. And in the center of the room, a pedestal. Upon it rested an hourglass, identical to the one I had seen in the first hall, except this one wasn't flowing up or down. It was frozen. I walked toward it slowly, my footsteps echoing softly across the glass-like floor. As I got closer, the reflections began to stir, the scenes within them warping, bending, faces turning to watch me. Whispers followed me like ghosts. "She's here again. She never learns. This time, maybe she will." My hand trembled as I reached for the hourglass. The moment my fingers brushed against it, warmth flooded through my arm, a pulse of energy that filled my chest with a strange, painful familiarity. And then the world around me changed again. I wasn't in the tower anymore. I was standing in a vast library. Endless rows of shelves spiraling upward into infinity. Books floated in the air with their pages glowing faintly with symbols that shifted when I tried to read them. Someone stood at the far end of the hall, cloaked, still, head bowed. When they spoke, the sound vibrated through the air like an echo of thunder trapped in glass. "You shouldn't have come back so soon." The voice was soft, but it shook something deep inside me. "Who are you?" I asked. The figure turned, and I saw myself again. But not as before, not older or younger. This version of me had eyes of pure light, her face expressionless, as though she'd forgotten what it meant to feel. "You keep trying to rewrite what cannot be rewritten. Every cycle you open the key, hoping to remember, but the tower doesn't allow change, only repetition." I took a step back. Then, why am I here? What is the key for? She tilted her head slightly, the light in her eyes dimming. "The key is not meant to open the tower. It's meant to open you." The library around us began to flicker, as though reality itself were breathing. Pages tore themselves free from the books, spinning around like leaves in a storm. Each page carried a word, a memory, a fragment of a life I didn't recognize but felt deeply. I saw a child's drawing of a door, a note written in my handwriting, "If I forget again, find the glass moon," and a small piece of a melody, the same tune I used to hum when I was scared as a child. The world cracked. The reflection of me, the other Aria, reached out her hand. "Don't look for me," she whispered. "Look for the first door, the one you never closed." The light consumed everything. When it faded, I was back in the tower, the hourglass before me now glowing faintly again, the sand finally moving upward. I fell to my knees, breath trembling. Every sound echoed too loud, my heartbeat, my breath, the soft hum of the key against my palm. And in that silence, I realized something terrifying. I'd done this before. Maybe dozens of times? Maybe hundreds. Each time chasing the same truth, only to forget it when I reached the top. I looked up at the staircase spiraling into the darkness above me. It stretched forever, each step flickering with the faint light of unseen worlds. The air was heavy, yet inviting, as if the tower itself wanted me to climb. So I stood, held the key tight, and whispered to the shadows, "If this is a cycle, then this time I'll break it." The tower answered with a single sound, a deep, resonant hum that shook the floor beneath me. And with that, the first door at the top of the stairs opened on its own. A beam of silver light spilled out, illuminating the path ahead. I took one final look at the hourglass behind me, the sand still rising, defying gravity, time, and reason. Then I stepped forward into the light.